All right, so for today we're going to focus on just one type of transformation. We're going to focus on translations. And if you want to have your notes handy, you might want to say, as a reminder, that here we are sliding the shape in one direction and we end up with same shape and size. So we would say that this is congruent because the shape of this and the size of this is the same as the shape of this and the size of this. So it is congruent. But we don't need to know that yet today. All right, so the first thing that I want to point out is that even though it's difficult to say, we have polygon QUMI. That's this one, the bottom one, the black one, QUMI. And we have polygon Q sub 1, U sub 1, M sub 1, I sub 1. So there's Q sub 1, U sub 1, M sub 1, I sub 1. You can also call them prime, Q prime, U prime, M prime, I prime. Okay, all right. And then we're going to describe the translation, and then we're going to also learn something else. So, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Ignore me for a second while I'm undoing all that. That wasn't supposed to happen. There we go. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to find the coordinates for each of my points. So what's the coordinate of point P, Q? Well, I didn't go side to side, so my x value is 0. I'm still at the origin. But I went down 1, so I went to -1. That's my y value. So point Q is at 0, -1. Go ahead and pause and do the other points, just for practice. Did you really pause and try? All right, okay, I'll believe you. Not that I have a choice. Okay, so here's the points for U, the coordinates for M, and the coordinates for point I. Did you get all those? Oh, good. How about the coordinates for point Q prime, or Q sub 1? U sub 1, M sub 1, and I sub 1. All right, make sure you've got all the right coordinates of these points. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to describe the translation. So if you notice, I went ahead and I compared Q and Q sub 1. Well, what's happening? It's just going up, right? But remember, we don't care just about the direction. We want to know how much. It went up by 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And if you notice, well, let's see. So it translated up 4 units. And if you notice, every single point did the same thing. Went up 4 units, went up 4 units, went up 4 units. They all did the exact same thing. Okay, that's why it is a congruent figure, and it translated up 4 units. But here's something else I want you to consider. When we went from point Q to point Q prime, or Q sub 1, what happened mathematically? Well, if I look at my x values, they're the same, right? I still have a value of 0 because it didn't move left or right, it moved up and down. So x didn't change, did it? But what happened to y? Well, it went from -1 to 3. That is a difference of, what do we add to -1 to get to 3? We add 4. Hey, look at that. Did it go up 4 units? Yes, that's the same thing. So we would describe this as, and it's happened to the other points also, right? X didn't change, 4 and 4, so it stayed right along there at the same x value. But y changed, it went up 4, and look at this. If we add 4 to -2, we get 2. And it's going to hold true for the next one as well. So we could describe this as to go from polygon QUMI to our second polygon. X doesn't change, but what happens to our y values? We add 4 each time. And hey, if we're translating it up 4 units, we're adding 4. Perfect. All right. And look at this. X didn't change, and y changed by adding 4. All right. Next one. We're going backwards this time. You're being given a polygon. You're being given a triangle in this case, triangle GWE, and you're being asked to translate it 3 units to the right and 2 units down. And I talked the other day about how the fact that we don't translate diagonally. Because if I asked you to, you wouldn't be able to really count in this direction, right? But you can count left and right easily because you have the lattice lines. You can count up and down because you have the lattice lines. So that's why we translate always in only side to side and only up and down. All right, and we're going to translate it 3 units to the right and 2 units down. Well, let's start with 3 units to the right. If I start at point G, and I go 1, 2, 3 to the right, I land there, but I'm not done, am I? Nope, I also need to go 2 units down. So there I am, 1, 2, and there I am now. So I can plot my point. And what am I going to label this point? Well, that's point G. This is G sub 1. Okay, let's do the next point. Let's see, GWE, let's do W. I've got to move 3 to the right, there, and 2 units down, there. Plot my point, and I'm going to label it W sub 1. Do it a third time for point E. 3 to the right, 2 down, plot my point, label it E sub 1. Am I done? Of course not. That doesn't look like that. I need the same figure, so I just need to, very carefully with a straight edge, connect my points. Now, are these figures congruent? Yeah, they're the same size, they're the same shape, but it is translated to the right and down. All right, let's go ahead and identify the coordinates. I'll give you a minute. Don't do E sub 1 for me, though. Leave that one blank. Pause if you need to, or you're going to need to. I couldn't do it that fast. All right. Okay, so here are my coordinates. There's G sub 1. There's W sub 1. There's E, and remember I said please don't do E sub 1 yet. Here's why. I want you to think about, remember how I wrote that coordinate pair and I said, well, X didn't change for that previous one, but Y changed by this one, this much? I want us to do that again. So let's see. What happened to our X values? We went from -4 to -1. What's going on? We're adding or subtracting something. Right, we're adding 3. And look at this. We went 3 units to the right. X went up by 3. Makes sense, doesn't it? So I'm going to write X plus 3. All right, let's look at our Y values. What happened here? We went from 0 to -2. Looks like we subtracted 2, right? And if we start here and we subtract 2, we're going down, right? And look at this, 2 units down. We subtract 2, we move 2 units down. Hey, so I'm going to write Y minus 2 here. Now, why do I care about this? Because let's say I don't have the time or patience to graph it. And somebody gives me this figure and I need to find my new points. Well, here we go. What happened to my X value? I'm going from 0 to something. And I'm not going to look up here and cheat. So X goes from, what happens to X? X adds 3. So I go from 0 to 3. All right, what about my Y value? Y went 2 units down. So I'm subtracting 2. So 3 minus 2 is 1. And now let's look at this. So E sub 1 should be 3, 1. Is it 1, 2, 3, 1? Hey, we got it right. All right, that's all you need to know. Work on the homework, or maybe if you're lucky, you got it done in class. Not lucky. You're just that good. All right, see you next class.